Hi, this is Pepper. Thanks for joining me again. This is video number 2 in the series that I'm calling Inflection Point or Inflection Points for lack of another word. So if that's new to you, you can view the previous video on Facebook or you can view it on my YouTube channel. I think even if you subscribe to the newsletter, we're going to see if we can embed it in that as well. So whatever works best for you. So this will be a little bit of a continuation of that. And I think each video can stand alone on its own as well. So I'm speaking to you from home, which I usually do anyway, but maybe you don't. So I think we all are a little bit homebound now. Maybe that's a good thing for you, and maybe not. Maybe you're getting a little bit tired of it as well. Anyway, we're going to consider a few other subjects about this interesting time period, timeline that we're in right now, this sort of out of sequence, out of time world event that's happening right now and what that might look like a little bit in the future. And I'll see if I can address at least a few of the questions that I've received. Some of them are a little bit of a personal nature, so I can't do that right now anyway. And it's a little bit too soon to talk about what the new normal will look like. I'm hearing that phrase a little bit these days. And we can touch upon that a little bit, but we're not close enough to the new normal yet to see where things are going to settle. And if they will stay settled into a new normal, we may be in a period of accelerated change where we go from one thing that looks normal to the next and to the next until it does settle. A little bit like when there's an earthquake and then afterwards there are aftershocks for a period of time until things have really settled down again. So we'll look and see a little bit. I do want to encourage you, because it's available if you go to my website, pepperkeenlewis.com. If you go to, I think it says it's under Explore, under one of the headings at the top that says Explore. And under that heading, there is a place that has free content. And if you click on where it says free audio, there is most of a seminar that I did last year called Eyes Wide Open, something I do once a year. And I hadn't gotten around to doing it this year as well. So we may do a series of these talks and call them all Eyes Wide Open at the end. I don't know. We'll just have to see what happens. But if you're curious and have time and want to listen some more, there are some things that were said there last year that might be of use to you now. Things that I really had not expect to be revisiting for a few years, as I said. Anyway, one of the questions that I received was, could I talk a little bit more about this time period, about what it means to be out of time or out of sequence in a certain timeline? So I did talk about it a little bit. It does seem like we have sort of like jumped the tracks on a few things in making events that are of global proportion. That's something I had not seen yet. And so more things of a local nature. So when things happen of a worldwide nature, the whole world is looking to see what's going to happen next. A pandemic, if that's what we're having, affects the entire world. Everyone is looking, everyone is feeling it. The economies of the entire world are involved, and perhaps even the health of many individuals as well. So these are big events. And even though what happens in other countries is not hugely and vitally important, when something comes to the shores, onto the shores of the US, one of the superpowers of the world again looks to see what's going to happen. And it's one of those trigger points. If it comes to the US, so 9/11 is an unfortunate example to use as well. The world is watching what's going to happen next. And as you have seen, things did change drastically after that event. The changes that were implemented from there did change the balance of power in the world. It changed how we travel around the world, the kind of documents that we need, who is invited, admitted, or not. So many of these things changed. And the kind of event that we're undergoing right now is going to have a different set of changes, but it will also affect many of these things as well. And it is likely that you will see many of these implemented in the US, and then out of necessity spread around the world as well. Out of necessity, meaning that the US will implement these things and that the other countries will be in some ways forced to go along with them or to participate in them. So out of sequence in this time just means that we have jumped a little bit forward and a little bit askew to some things that could have gone in a better direction, and they didn't. This is the direction that things have taken, and whether consciously or unconsciously, we have agreed to this. We are participating in this, and that is in some ways a form of unconscious agreement to it. So there's pros and cons in all these things. It isn't always ever negative. We're looking at the world right now through different eyes, through eyes that are maybe opened, or looking in a broader perspective, a broader spectrum at things that can happen to us, can happen to our loved ones, and can happen suddenly or in unexpected ways. And so a lot of our plans might be a little bit askew, either for this year or a little bit into the future. So things that might be out of sequence on a personal basis, it could be as simple as sleep patterns being inhibited or stimulated in different ways, even though there's still 24 hours in the day and the sun rises at the time that you expect it to. How we are responding to these events, which in some ways includes a trauma of sorts, emotional, mental, uncertainty, all these things will affect our rhythms, our cycles, our natural cycles. So what we eat, when we eat, where we sleep, we may want to sleep in a different part of the house. We may want to be facing in a different direction. We may want to wear different sleep clothes or have different other things surrounding us. And all of these things are somewhat understandable. So things that are a little bit out of sequence for you may be appropriate for right now. Even changes in what you wear during the day, if you're someone that leaves the home for work and now you're not. So everything is a little bit disrupted, at least. I won't say disturbed, but I'll say disrupted at least. So from a personal standpoint, out of sequence means just that. Doesn't necessarily mean an illness, but it may mean a different level of energy or more energy at different times of the day than you normally would have it. So not normal, doesn't have to be normal. I think go with it. What else? What other choice do we have, really? Better to go with it and not really fight these things right now. This is not really the time to rebel. I think we'll have plenty of other opportunities to do that as we go forward in this timeline. And different things that are presented to us. We will appreciate some changes, we won't others, and so we'll just have to see how we feel about that and how we respond when we don't feel a certain way about it. So what else can I say? So let's talk a little bit about other advances or changes in this timeline. So we all have phones. I can't think of anyone I know that doesn't really have a smartphone now. I'm sure there's a few out there, a few holdouts, but this is the world that we're in. So based again there, we will be, some of us unfortunately, becoming more germophobic, some with good reason, some just out of a natural inclination that comes at this time. So our personal devices will need to become more personal. We're not going to want to share them as much. We're not going to want other people to touch them as much. We're going to want them to become more easily disinfected, more easier way to have, what can I say? An antimicrobial coating, or a way to disinfect them quickly, easily, often during the day. So in answer to some questions, I received one of the questions was, can I tell somebody what to invest in, given some of the things that are happening in the world today? So that's not something I really do, but you can easily read between the lines of some of the things I say. And if you find things that are of interest to you that way, it would not be difficult to search them out and see if there any interest develops for you. So yeah, personal devices becoming even more personal. So phones being more integrated into a watch, or something that in some way is more wearable than something that you carry with you in a pocket or a handbag or something, or that you put down on a counter. So things that would be easier to clean. There will also be some kind of a field, some kind of a field that you can put your devices in that will cleanse them. And I want to say it's something small, certainly not bigger than a microwave, or something small, toaster oven, something along that size, that you can put your devices in, personal things that get really dirty, keys, phones, wallets, and these could become easily disinfected. So you'll see some of these things not very far into the future. These are quick responses and quick things that can be easily manufactured with technologies that we already have. Technologies that are used to create sterile environments, for instance, with stainless steel, and for medical facilities, and for cleaning dental instruments and different things. They can easily be adapted to some of our personal instruments as well. And again, this retooling is not difficult. We have seen this week the announcement of some companies saying that they can retool from making certain aspects of vehicles to creating ventilators. So you will see that companies can quickly turn around and retool, at least for the time being, and then maybe have spin-offs into other kinds of manufacturing things as well. So along with that, as we enter different buildings, we are somewhat accustomed now to have certain security zones in certain areas that we go into. So for now, I'm just going to call these clean zones. A room within a room, or a passageway, or a hallway, or something that we move into before or between one environment and another. Again, this is how we are thinking right now. It's not to say that the environments that we are in are going to be needing to be more sterile. It's just that based upon this scare, we are going to respond in a way that we need to do something. We need to take action. And so as humans, partly because of curiosity, partly because we are still in a consumer culture, and partially out of fear, we will quickly go into this manufacturing mode, this I need to do something about this problem mode. Here's a solution. We like solutions. And so these are some of the things that we will see, some of these clean zones. You might see them in restaurants, and you might see them in banks, or in larger environments, in airports. We'll see what happens. Different sensors as well, different sensors that can just monitor something as simple as your temperature, heart rate, other things that might be going in your body. We've been moving in that direction anyway. Our smartphones have different apps that can monitor different health aspects about us. So it would not really be a far jump to say that other environments as we enter them would be able to monitor us in that way as well. 5G networks that are coming soon to a neighborhood near you, they would also be able to more than likely facilitate that jump. If it's not quite there, it can be pretty soon as well. So health sensors, antimicrobial products, some kind of different shields that we carry or put our things in that we care most about, new and different kinds of quick acting disinfectants where you can see very quickly what you're carrying around. And I can't tell you exactly how this will come about, but this is not rocket science as we used to say. I once took a class in food safety and they had us wash our hands with a kind of a soap, and then under a certain light, you could easily see that no matter how well we had washed and for how long, there was still a certain amount of germs on the surface of our hands and skin before we went to go handle food. So that was a good lesson. And we'll see more of these kinds of things more than likely in schools as well. Hopefully we could make it fun for the kids, but coming to a neighborhood near you. So in terms of economies and neighborhoods and different things, and I'm talking about the near future here. Like I said, I'm not quite ready to talk about the everyday new normal yet. I'm still meditating on some of these things to see what stays, what is lasting with me day after day as I look at some of these things. But I'll say that there has been over the last few years, especially with parents, a swing toward anti-vaccination for a variety of different reasons. I'm thinking of the side effects for the kids. Well, based on this, the pendulum is going to swing the other way. So we are going to be looking for vaccines. We're going to be looking for preventative measures. And there's certainly nothing wrong with that. But we do have to be really careful. As you know, these things will be introduced into our bloodstream and that of our children and that of our elder population as well. So I hope that we are a little further down the research path before these things are introduced. And I would encourage you to not be the tester on these things, if at all possible, unless it's very, very necessary for your condition. As businesses try to return to normal, there will be whatever new normal is, and it will be different for the different kinds of businesses and industry as well. You probably don't need me to say that the retail industry will more than likely not be the same. We will all do our best to support our local establishments, restaurants, and wherever else we live. But there will be some changes, so it may affect how long restaurants are open, or how many people are dining at the same time, how far apart tables are. For a while, it's just going to be weird out there, and we're going to be weird. We will be part of that weirdness. So we may as well just accept that a little bit as well. Most of us have gotten used to these past few weeks visiting with our friends virtually, using videos and other meeting places. So that will continue. That will become more popular. There will be more platforms that offer more advances in that. Virtual rooms where it really feels like you're sitting around the table or around a sofa with your friends. So they will create it so it feels like it's much more intimate. It won't be as much like you are with me here now. You're seeing my background, or I could put another background there, but what's coming will really make it seem like you're all together in a room, at least for a little while, virtually, even though we're not. So these technologies, advances have been around already. It didn't seem like anyone really wanted them that badly yet. So they've kind of been sitting on the back burner. So these you will see coming soon to a computer screen or a projection screen. People are not always going to want to be sitting in front of their laptops like I am now. So there will be other ways of projecting these environments virtually into your own space. So we'll have virtual communities as well. Even things that look like a virtual plaza or a park, so it won't look like you are alone. And they will be real enough. I don't want to say that these are a substitute for being with people. There is no substitute for that. There is no substitute for humans needing humans, for humans needing to be in nature, around animals, around companions, around family, around fellow workers. There is no substitute for that. We are human beings and we're organized in this way. We're social beings, we're curious beings, we're touchy-feely, most of us, maybe not right now, but we are. So there's some adjustments coming here. I won't go into detail now. If you do go to that audio that I mentioned, the Eyes Wide Open audio that's on the website, one of the files I think is called Ideal Communities or something like that. And there you will see, hear a little bit more about corporate communities, corporate cities, closed or private cities and communities. These are some of the things that I thought were going to be a little bit further in the future. Probably see a lot more advances of that very quickly, especially thinking in terms of potentially Amazon hiring so many people. They will need their people to be together, but not together. And so there will be communities and there will need to be good reasons for people to want to work for these companies. And so those reasons will be created. So you can listen to more about that on that audio so that I don't make this video too long. Along those lines, there are areas within each state and country that are sovereign to other countries. So let's say, or people. For instance, a vast expanse of private land is in some ways sovereign to that person. That means you need permission to go on that land. It's private property. And even though those people who own that land are still subject to the laws of that state or city, wherever they are, it's still considered private land. There's going to be another classification of land, and I'm going to, for now, for lack of another word, call it sovereign land. So if you went to an embassy, if you went to the American embassy in another country, once you're on to the space of that embassy, you are on as if it were American soil, or another embassy. So in the way that that works, there will be certain land areas, land grants, spaces, can't really describe it another way yet. And these will be sovereign in ways that I can't really explain quite yet, but I'll say that they won't be subject to the same laws that other things are, other land is, or perhaps other entities. I don't want to just say other people because it's not that simple, but I'll just say other entities for now. And we'll just have to wait and see how that develops. I maybe should have held on to that one a little bit for you, but not being able to describe it fully, but here we are. As we continue to unfold this event and it relaxes a little bit, the travel bans will come off and movement will be restored again. But I want to say that these travel bans will come on and off for a variety of reasons. So once we have this now, we have this, oh, there's a travel ban. So it's not going to be entirely foreign for it to happen again and for another reason. And in some ways, we have given our agreement to this now. And because of that, we have also lent our agreement for this to happen again. It happened once, it will happen again, and potentially for other reasons that may or may not be important to us, but because they've been implemented now and they have worked, there will be others as well. So more than likely, if we booked tourism or vacation, it might have to be a little bit more flexible than it has been in the past without exact dates and times. We might buy more of those flex fares from airlines that are good for a certain amount of days or weeks instead of specific hours and flights. We'll have to see how that goes as well. But that is something else that will come about as well. I don't know exactly what the reasons for those bans will be, but they're going to come back. So along those lines, like I said, tourism will change as well. And maybe because not everything will be open or open to experience, or maybe that there will be fewer people allowed at a certain time, potentially even say in the US, like the national parks or other areas, even natural areas that draw a good part of the population. It may be that maybe you would book a vacation with A, B, C choices, and you are, say, only promised or guaranteed one out of the three. These are just possibilities, but they're possibilities. So again, what else can we look at? I can say that healthy people are going to become healthier. Non-healthy people are going to become more non-healthy or unwell. And so that spectrum, it's just going to move a little bit more, stretch a little bit more to one end of the spectrum or the others. And this in-between area, they will be pulled to one or the other. So the in-between, in medium health, not great, never took great care of health, it will become a big deal now. It'll become a bigger deal now. So some will move to one end and some will move to the other end, and we're going to be looking at that a lot more. Who's healthy? What is a strong, healthy portion of the population, and what is not? What part of the population is in high need or high level of care? And those numbers are going to be kept a lot more. And I don't know what will happen about that or how that will be managed. There may very well be ID cards or somehow in a permanent medical record, some of these things, and they will become meaningful if and when other global moments such as this come about. So in case you're thinking, you know, the severity of this and when it may come about or if it would come about again, it will. This particular virus will have different iterations of it. It will have different mutations of it, and it will be more or less potent in some people, in some specific groups, even in some races, and I don't know exactly why. But we will revisit this subject more than once. And so it is really important that we take care of ourselves and our loved ones and continue to manage our health to the best that we can. If something of this degree comes about again, when it comes about again, I think it may be more of an epidemic proportion, not a pandemic proportion. So a pandemic, as you already know now, has more global ramifications and spreads faster and to more people, and then becomes a worldwide pandemic rather than a localized or expansive epidemic, as some others have been. So what will happen the next time? I can't say exactly. It depends to the degree that people are affected. One of the things that may happen next time is that people will not want to take their leaders or officials as seriously as they did this time, particularly if that person is someone who did not become ill or did not know even anyone who did. So the next time a job is in jeopardy, they may not take it as seriously. They may not take an official request or even a demand seriously. And so what will happen? What might happen if an official order is disregarded at the local level or greater than that? Because at some point it is likely that that will happen. So it's hard to tell exactly. I will say that along the orders of being able to tell people to stay home or, stay away from others or different things, the things that cannot be enforced one way can be enforced in others. For instance, if a city ceased to allow gas stations to offer gasoline, petrol to consumers, that would severely limit people's ability to get around. You would really want to conserve how much you had and what you used it for. So this is just a small example, and I don't necessarily want to say that these are the things that are happening, but I do always want to be honest with you and show you, to the degree that I'm able, this world, this timeline that in some ways is different than this road that we have traveled up until now, thinking and believing in certain ways of life and into a certain future that we imagined would be. It might look a little different than we have imagined. So here I am being the one to call that out. So for now, I can simply say that the world is attempting to redefine itself. And these things don't always happen in beautiful and perfect ways. It doesn't always look like a beautiful bud blossoming into a flower in an even more beautiful garden. Sometimes it looks like a young person trying very hard to become an adult in a world that does not yet want to recognize them as an adult. So there's a struggle for it. So we are kind of in a struggle now in this world that is trying to shrug off some of the patterns and some of the ideas that no longer serve, some of the future timelines that are not going to happen, some of the beliefs that no longer work, whether they are of a spiritual or a religious or an institutional or a political aspect. We are going to see these. We are part of the patterns that are redefining and remaking themselves. We have some leeway and some creativity in them. And to some degree, we're also a little bit caught. We're caught in this world and in this net, and we can only express ourselves to the degree that we can within and around this paradigm until we become part of the next one, which is in process as well. So maybe I've given you a lot to digest in this video. Probably. It's usually my nature to do that if you've been to some of my seminars and things in the past. But you have plenty of other people right now that are telling you where to wash your hands and how to wash your hands and what to use on them and what environments to be in. And you have so much news coming at you, so much information overwhelm regarding this event, that I really wanted to look at things in another way, in another direction, and look a little bit further and a little bit beyond and give you some food for thought while you are potentially home and having time to consider it. So thanks for spending this time with me. This is the second video. There will be others probably every few days or whenever I feel so inclined or moved or wake up in a certain way. And in the meantime, I'll be communicating with you newsletters and Facebook and through my YouTube channel. So you can sign up for the videos there if you just want to get those and not have to scan through all the other Facebook things. Completely understand that as well. So thank you for joining me. Thank you for being a part of my family. That's exactly how I think of you, and I'll be checking in with you again soon. Thanks. Bye-bye.